Yeah.
That one was spicy.
So the Warriors have to play 48 minutes.
So I think it's going 7. I have it. I have the Nuggets in 7.
Ant-Man, Batman, Watchmen, Lakers at 5.
It's money time now.
All right, what is up, YouTube, Twitch, and everything in between? This is the GoatCast podcast with King Speaks Road, 10 Toes Down podcast, and we are going to have a live debate tonight. Hakeem Olajuwon versus Tim Duncan. This was brought to me earlier this week, and as a Duncan fan, I felt the need to represent my guy against a very respectable center in Hakeem Olajuwon, but I think Duncan is a greater player. So just want to say what's up to King's Speech. How's it going?
What's going on, guys? What's going on? What's going on YouTube streets? Yeah, man. We just came up with this. A lot of player comparisons out there. I think everybody's going for the obvious ones, right? The Jordan versus Kobe's and the Jordan versus LeBron. But yeah, we wanted to do this whole big man debate. As we everybody gets their tizzy about their top 10s and top 20s and whatever. And yeah, hey, let's keep it going. Let's keep the energy going. So you got two respectable big man. I'm gonna do a concept debate later on, but I love the team debate, but this is one. This is one of the more interesting player versus player debates. I thought.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
Yeah, it's tough. It's splitting hairs.
Yeah, so I guess we're going to do 3 5-minute rounds. Is that what we?
Yeah. So like just pretty much the way the last one went between Hawk and Nye, right? And we got Travis here. He's in the background, right? Perfect in the background. One of the 3 judge panel, but we kind of throwing this together. Yeah, no doubt.
Appreciate you pulling up for this. Because I know me and you got tomorrow. I'm gonna have T Perfect tomorrow on Lights Out 8. So I'm trying to get a rep in.
Looking forward to it.
No doubt, man. We got a couple of different leagues. Like I said, keep the momentum going, keep some summer content going, man. Like some interesting stuff to talk. It was really reflected on last night's show with 10 Toes Down, and yeah, man, got some good tidbits in there. I'll start put some timestamps in there to clip. Start to pull some clips out.
You and Sports Talk were having a little war in the comment section, but
Hey, look! I learned, and this is the thing I learned: is commenting after the live videos is very important, guys. So really, it's good that y'all come on and comment during the stream, but comment because it gets more traffic to the thing. Like we learn.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah, so learning the YouTube algorithm, man. Look, have the debates in the comments as well because it'll help. It'll help. Like every time somebody comments, it adds a view. So YouTube is really that's what I'm learning, that YouTube appreciates comments both in the stream but they also appreciate it after the video. So really that's why I've started clipping up certain talking points, and if you go back and look, and then that's the thing, we got to clip it up and make shorter videos out of it, out of my content.
I'm trying to get better at that, but time is hard.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we all don't got we all don't got teams of editors and stuff like that. So I'm gonna try to get more into doing what I can as well. So facts. All right.
So I guess I'll ask. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
So you can go first. I've been going first a lot. So
all right. Hopefully, going first pays off in this case.
I wouldn't know how we would flip a coin here. Right, we're at 3 different places.
Like I'm in the dark right now, so I don't even feel like getting on.
Exactly. And I'm in the semi-dark. I got my closet light on, shining on, so I can see my notes.
I will. Yeah, I got my notes in hand, so I will start the 5 minutes, and I guess we'll get this debate started. So matter of fact, let me start my five and pull up. And like we say, you don't necessarily have to use your 5 minutes. That's just where your
So just for
time.
clarification, guys, this is we're doing who's the greater or who should be ranked higher, correct?
Yeah, the great. I did mine according to being greater.
Okay.
Yeah, greater.
Okay.
Makes sense.
All right.
Two finished careers. Yeah, it's easy to do greater. All right.
Okay. All right. So I've started. So Tim Duncan versus Hakeem Olajuwon, really good. Two of the best to do it, but I'm gonna approach this differently because I'm gonna say this. I'm sure my man's speech is going to use Hakeem's raw data and raw numbers, which I'm gonna say are slightly better than Duncan's. But I'm gonna approach this from the metric that matters the most to me in the NBA, and that's winning. Tim Duncan has one of the greatest winning percentages of all time, 71.9%, which when you think about the greats, is better than Kareem, it's better than LeBron James, it's better than Steph Curry, it's better than Hakeem himself, and it's even better than the GOAT himself, Michael Jordan. We know that. It's extremely impressive in my book, but I know some of you guys will say, and our judge, that team success, that's a team success award. That's going off the team success, and that's true. But if you're the cornerstone of a team, playing starter minutes from the day you laced them up to the day you waved goodbye, your contributions on the court were partly the key to you winning. And the Spurs won a lot with Tim Duncan as the leader. But if winning isn't enough for you, how about accolades, achievements, and awards? Duncan is a two-time MVP to Hakeem's one. He's a three-time Finals MVP to Hakeem's two, and a five-time champion to Hakeem's two. Let's not forget Duncan played 19 seasons. In those, he was an All-NBA first team 10 times out of his 19 seasons. So that was over half of his career where he was an All-NBA first team player. Duncan had, while Hakeem had 6 out of his 18 seasons. Duncan had 15 All-NBA team selections between first through third teams. Hakeem had 12. Duncan had 8 all-defensive first-team selections to Hakeem's 5. 15 all-defensive teams altogether, all-time, to Hakeem's 9. The only place Hakeem has Duncan is he has 2 Defensive Player of the Years to Duncan's 0. But I think that the fact that Duncan was able to sustain this throughout his career, he was still in all defenses in year 18, we'll bring that up later, trumps, 2 DPOYs. Tim Duncan, as we know, is widely regarded with very little question as the greatest power forward ever. So that title, while opinion, is shared by most of the media and the fans. That should tell you how great he was. And at the same time, he spent a lot of his career as center, defending centers, and he was highly competitive with both. And ultimately, some say Tim Duncan has never been the best player in the league during his time, but that's, to me, untrue because there's no real way to measure it, but MVPs and All-NBA first teams. And he held both in 02 and 03, while Hakeem did it once. So if you're the most valuable player and you're one of the 5 best players in the league, in my opinion, you're the best player in the league. So that's my time.
All right. Okay. All right. When should we start? Can we go? Can I start it when it gets to the 30 mark of the live stream?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Ready to go right now. All right. So, hey, my partner came up with a good opening round. He kind of obfuscated some of my argument. But at the end of the day, you have raw numbers. And the raw numbers are going to say that Hakeem Olajuwon is a spirit. So I went by the numbers I started with is the 10-year goal, is the 10-year peak. And for Hakeem Olajuwon, That would be from the 85 season until the 90, until actually no, 86 season until 86 to 87 through the 90, through that, I'm sorry, 85 to 95. And in that, you encompass all three of his finals runs. Now, again, winning was one thing that CW started off with, and they talked about the ring count. See, ring count is very important, but ring count has context. Tim Duncan played every single season of his career with a Hall of Fame teammate in his relative prime, or relatively. I mean, he wound up with 4 total Hall of Fame teammates, while Hakeem Olajuwon wound up essentially with 1, and he actually did that within the second year, partial year of his back-to-back championships when they traded Oldesloe for Clyde Drexler. Um, Again, Hakeem Olajuwon's 10-year peak numbers. He beats Duncan slightly in a lot of things, but when you really look at it, okay, so 513, 515, and 503 shooting overall, field goal percentage, 720 to 686 free throw percent. I thought Hakeem was a better free throw shooter, right? But 3.7 offensive rebounds. Here's the key. Duncan never led the league in any particular stat. Hakeem Olajuwon did, and the main thing is the stocks. Right now we call it steals plus blocks. Hakeem in his 10-year peak, he averaged 2 steals to 0.8 by Duncan. He averaged 3.7 blocks and 2.4. Hakeem Olajuwon has 4 block titles. Hakeem Olajuwon has rebound titles. Tim Duncan doesn't have a single rebounding title. Now, again, excellence. I'll go with the excellence in their yeah, I'll go with the excellence in their games. They were both excellent, but Hakeem Olajuwon had the better move set. He had the better face up game. He had the better post up game. Duncan was an excellent post up player. And again, the numbers will show it. But my thing is Hakeem Olajuwon, again, really didn't have, I mean, Ralph Sampson was a great player. Eventually he didn't go to the Hall of Fame. But by year 3, their third year together, injuries started robbing Ralph Sampson of a lot of the games that he played. And Hakeem Olajuwon didn't really have much. So I'm gonna in the later rounds, I'm gonna pretty much put a lot of my claims in the context where it shows you that Hakeem Olajuwon was a superior player, even though they comparable greatness. But Hakeem Olajuwon was a superior talent, and that played out on the court. Now I'll see my time.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. I don't know if you were
Okay,
muted.
yeah, I don't know what was
You
happening.
stuff.
Yeah, okay. So so you had about a minute and something left. So I'm about to start my time here at 14 minutes. Okay, so good first round. But let's keep on the theme of winning, and let's look at this a little bit with some era adjustments, because if we're being honest, Duncan played in a different era technically than Hakeem Olajuwon. But we're going to, like I said, we're going to keep up with we're talking about winning. So we'll talk about win shares, total win shares. Tim Duncan 206.0, Hakeem Olajuwon 162.8. So Duncan's total win shares were significantly higher than Hakeem Olajuwon, showing that he had much more impact on his team's success on both ends, offense and defense. Defensive win shares per season, Duncan outpaced Olajuwon slightly, around 5.6 to 5.2, and actually ranks second only to Bill Russell, who we historically believe is the greatest interior defender of all time. Let's talk about wins above replacement. That metric is mostly your top 100 possessions compared to the average player in the league. So we're going to bump it up to close to the current modern era. So Duncan's wins above replacement for offense is 108.1, defense 110.3. So the means between those is 109.2. Hakeem's offense is 79.5. For his offense, defense 93.3. So his means are 85.9. So Duncan, two-way excellence far exceeds that of Hakeem Olajuwon when you adjust it to the current era. So it kind of gives you a, somewhat of a peek into how he is. Let's talk about their offensive peaks per 75 possession scaled to 2019, 2020. Yeah, that's a bubble year, but we're still going to scale it to that. I believe Tim Duncan's peak seasons are 2002 to 05, and I will give him 07 as well, when he was, at his top form. And in that time, if he was playing in 2020, he would probably average around 25.7 points per game, 3.8 assists per 75 possessions, with a true shooting percentage of 60.1. Hakeem, I give his peak. You said, I think, 85 to 95. I say 89 to 95 was his peak. And he would average around 25.3 points, 2.8 assists, with a true shooting percentage of 59.1. So even with the different errors, Duncan would slightly edge him if they played today or 2020, and he was slightly better playmaker in championship winning seasons. Hakeem led in playoffs for offensive win shares and total win shares in 94. Tim Duncan had one playoffs where he led in offensive win shares, defensive win shares, and total win shares. And that was in 2003. So if you compare the late 80s and 90s to the 90s, late 90s and 2000s, the slower pace meant Tim Duncan had fewer possessions to work and was still averaging almost close to Hakeem's averages. And continuing with advanced stats, not only with these, but Tim Duncan has a higher win share per 48 minutes, which tells you their impact on the court by the minute, had higher offensive box plus minus, slightly lower defensive box plus minus by only 0.2. Hakeem 2.5, Duncan 2.3. But ultimately, Tim Duncan had a higher career box plus minus and a much higher VORP value over replacement player, which further tells the story that just raw averages do not tell the story of how good Duncan was compared to Hakeem. And that's my time.
All right, I'm gonna start the 30-second mark, so I know. Okay, so my opponent went into some error specific numbers, which I think is a flawed. I think it's technically a flawed argument because you're using value of a replacement player in your error. And what's to say that the players that you're compared to are the same caliber players as compared to a different era? Now, win shares again. That's win shares. A lot of the time become a team accomplishment, as we said. We can concede that Duncan played on more 50-win teams. He played on more 60-win teams, and was essentially drafted to a 50 damn near 60-win roster with Sean Elliott and David Robinson being placed back onto the team when they were injured in the 96-97 season. The Spurs won the lottery as a result, but they got their two players back to add to the rest of the core. So Duncan started off on a better foot. Now, fair to mention that Hakeem Olajuwon also started off with Ralph Sampson, the first pick the prior year. But so both guys came into it with other dominant big men, and they were Tim Towers situation. Both men got to the finals in the second year. In the second year, he played the Rockets played the better team. in the 86 Celtics, who won 67 games. The Spurs played a banged up Knick team with Patrick Ewing out with an Achilles, Marcus Camby hobbling around on a twisted ankle. Having Chris Dudley at center versus having Robert Parrish at center. Now, remember, the Rockets were the only team to take 2 games from that Lakers team. I mean, from that Celtics team. And you're talking about some great teams. You're talking about the Sidney Moncrief led Bucks that got swept. You're talking about the Jordan Bulls that got swept. Well, I believe they got the Bucks got gentlemen swept, I believe. But yeah, the Rockets took 2 games. Hakeem Olajuwon was dominant. Hakeem Olajuwon in his second year, despite only playing 2 rounds of the playoff, led the total playoffs in blocks. He had 43 blocks in 10 games. Again, the blocks numbers with Hakeem. Hakeem Olajuwon is the all-time leading blocks per game. He's all-time leading blocks per game. He was a consistent playoff riser. He had some of the most greatest dominant big man battles of all time. Duncan didn't have too many big man battles. I mean, yeah, it was a lot with Shaq. I don't think he played Weber. I don't think he played Garnett in the playoffs. He avoided the best big man matchup. Hakeem Olajuwon dominated Patrick Ewing, another all-time great center. He dominated Shaq, another all-time great center. And this is back-to-back finals. Who were the power forward matchups that Duncan had to deal with? Kenyon Martin. Again, we're talking a hobbled Larry Johnson, because even Larry Johnson was hobbled. Marcus Camby was starting center after Patrick Ewing was out for the playoffs. Again, I want to say this for last, but I can go here. Robert Horry and Mario Elie. Robert Horry is quoted as saying Hakeem was 20 times the better player. I mean, it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but you talk about one of the best teammates. Players that played with both and won ring with both. Robert Horry again says 20 times better. Now, what Mario Elie said is that Hakeem was more skilled, and I believe that. That was really shown. Arguably the second best defensive, probably arguably the best defensive player of all time. Hakeem Olajuwon made some damning plays, some great plays in his day. I mean, the block on John Starks prevented this Knicks fan from going to a parade. That the dominance of Hakeem Olajuwon as he dominated center after center in the West, the big man after big man battle. They were there. The numbers are there. The peak performance is there. I do want to get into the difference in all NBA teams. Again, Duncan had the advantage of being both a power forward and a center. Hakeem had better centers to go against before, and yet he still has a back-to-back deep defensive player of the year. That's my time. I believe that's my time. That's my time because I started at 18.
You got about 10 seconds left.
Oh, okay. All right, but I'll still concede it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, some interesting comments there. Okay, let me start my time. All right, so you had a few things to say against Tim Duncan, and I understand some of those. He did play both, as I said before. He played both power forward and center. I would say he played a little more center throughout the later peak of his career, but that's besides the point. But let's talk about Tim Duncan. Out of his 19 seasons, Tim Duncan with the Spurs only fell out of the top 5 in offensive rating 3 times. And like you said, he came in with his twin tower, David Robinson, another defensive anchor. But Robinson really only had a few good years with Duncan in the late 90s. And I guess you could say early 2000s, where he started to, he had the back issues. So when you just look at Duncan and the help he had at defense after David Robinson left, And I'm not trying to, slight these players or anything like that. But after David Robinson, his front court sidekicks were Fabricio Oberto, Matt Bonner, an old shell of himself, Antonio McDyess, DeJuan Blair, Boris Diaw, and Tiago Splitter, who was, Tiago Splitter was decent for him during those late championship years. But those are not guys that scream interior defense. But as stated, the Spurs continue to be a top 5 defensive team through all of that. And they had to guard greats like Prime Shaq, Yao Ming, Chris Webber, Amari Stoudemire, Dirk, Kevin Garnett, and a few others. And no, Duncan didn't always take those guys himself, but he had to help or actually play some of those guys. Not only was Duncan a defender, he put up buckets against some of his best contemporaries. Dropped 41 on Kevin Garnett, 43 on Shaq, 53 on Dirk, but 34 on Blake Griffin, and 32 on Yao Ming. So, and piggybacking off that, I heard you talk about, Hakeem and Shaq. A lot of people talk about how he destroyed a young baby Shaq. But if we judge Hakeem by his all-star years while playing against Shaq, Shaq is 7-6 against Hakeem. And we're moving the finals where Hakeem was, he was phenomenal. But if we remove the finals, Hakeem was only 2-7 against Shaq when he was an all-star. When Hakeem was an all-star, playing against the Magic and later the Lakers in the regular season. Duncan had to play prime Shaq, and he held his own, 14-18 in the regular season. They tied in playoffs, 15-15. And as you said, he played Kenyon Martin. He committed absolute murder, almost amassing a quadruple double in 2003. Then he played in the 2005 NBA Finals, where he punished Defensive Player of the Year Ben Wallace en route to another and his third Finals MVP, the same Ben Wallace that gave Shaq fits in 2004. Tim Duncan was still an all-star, all-NBA, and all-defensive player in his 18th season, the season before he retired, while Hakeem was coming off the bench in his 18th and final season. Historically, Hakeem lost in the first round 8 times in his career and missed the playoffs 3 times. Tim Duncan lost in the first round 4 times, one of which he was injured and didn't even play and never missed the playoffs. All of this while the biggest name to be signed to those Spurs came near the end of his career. I'm not counting players, that the Spurs drafted or acquired through draft, but their biggest acquisition was LaMarcus Aldridge right before Duncan was going to retire. And one last big thing, since the advent of the All-NBA third team in 89, Duncan is the only player who has won more than one title without a current All-NBA teammate. He did it 4 times, 99, 03, 05, and 07. And just to drop the mic on this one, Tim Duncan went against Hakeem Olajuwon. It happened. Tim Duncan finished 10-0 against Hakeem Olajuwon. That's my time.
Okay. Now, all right, I'm starting about. All right. Okay, so my opponent used a lot of good convenient facts, like the fact that, which again, who cares that Hakeem Olajuwon came off the bench in his last year with Toronto. Old players of the 90s call it the stealing money time of their careers. One thing you got to put into context, and this matters. I know the judges might not think so, but I think the audience should need to learn this. I like to learn when I do debates and when I research. Hakeem Olajuwon played 10 years of his career before the money explosion of 1996. So, of course, guys like Hakeem Olajuwon, as they were physically falling off, would get large contracts paying them over $10 million, that they deserve as tent poles of the career of the league. And, again, that would explain a thing like Toronto. That would explain the last couple of years where, again, he's not the same physical guy. Duncan had a lot of physical years where he would fall off, but he was used sparingly and accordingly by the great coach Greg Popovich. He played for one coach in his career, Greg Popovich. Great coach, great GM. Always kept him with great players that you bring up the Fabricio Albertos and all the world. These guys fit the puzzle very well, which is why Duncan could always remain on a winning team. Again, both players had ups and downs in their careers, but let's go to the dominance of his career because I'm just looking at raw numbers from playoff stats, from playoff series. Eastern Conference. So let's go to the Western Conference semifinals. Second year in the league, he averaged 29, 12, and 3.5 blocks against the Denver Nuggets. In the finals, in the conference finals against the Lakers, 31, 11, and 2.2 steals, 4 blocks. That's against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Hall of Famer. Again, against Boston, 24, respectable 25, 12. And again, this is the second-year player at this point. 34 and 11 against Portland in 94. 35 against Utah. 27, 9, and 4 in that famous battle with Patrick Ewing in the 7-game finals. This goes 95 against David Robinson, a guy who could arguably say peak for peak was better than Duncan, a big brother of Duncan. He averaged 35, 12, and 5 assists, 4.2 blocks. You're not going to find many dominant playoff numbers. If you want to talk about a playoff rival, in the finals, he averaged against Shaq. We talked about being 2-7 in regular season matchups. In the finals, he was 4-0, averaging 33, 11, 5.5 steals, 2 blocks and 2 steals. 5.5 assists, 2 blocks and 2 steals. In the championship series of his career, in the conference finals, he averaged a career 30 points a game, 10.8 rebounds, 3.9, 2 steals, and 4 blocks. In the finals, in 3 final series, he averaged 25, a 10.6, 3.4 steals, 3.4 assists, 3.2 blocks, and 1.9 steals. These are dominant numbers. These are better than Duncan's best numbers. And again, we're going to use raw numbers, and we're not going to error adjust it because, in my opinion, and I just by the names that Duncan played against, this was the better era. I've been asked to use stats to support that, but the names should tell you this. The guys that he played against in the playoffs, I'm sorry, they just were better than Duncan. Duncan was a very good player on a great team. Hakeem Olajuwon was absolutely dominant. Hakeem Olajuwon was absolutely poetic. And as I said, 2 guys that won championships with both of these guys, they both said that Hakeem was clearly better. One said he was 20 times better. He said, I guarded Duncan when I was with the Lakers, Robert Horry. Phil Jackson never called for a double team. Everybody had to double team with Hakeem Olajuwon. That's context. You can give me all the raw stats and value of replacements and things like that because it would mean something if they played in the same era, if their primes were concurrent. Yeah, going 0-10 as his team was falling apart and as he was getting older. Duncan, that's the issue. Duncan never played against a prime Hakeem. He came that 1 year a little too late to find the prime Hakeem. And unfortunately, we'll never know what they were going to have there. Sorry about that.
All right, that's Tom.
All right. Oh.
That was good. I had fun with it.
Look, I was trying not to be number centric. I was trying to spit off the dough. This is tough, bro. It's tough.
Yeah, it was tough to come up because, like you said, his numbers were better than Duncan. So it was hard for me. I had to figure out a way to kind of
get around it. I get it. Yeah. I get it. And I had to get around. And as you know, I had to get around the father too. Again, that's what. It's basically what you appreciate. So, we gonna shut up and let the judge say what he has to say. Travis, you on stage?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. good debate, and these are the debates I like because I personally have these players 4 and 5 myself. So it's a really close splitting hairs type of situation for me. And so this is one I really pay attention to because I like to say who's going to give me the more nuanced debate. Like who's going to say what's the team impact? Things like sure, context is great, but first round, CW. I thought this was the weakest round for both you guys. I'm sorry for maybe both you guys, but CW talked about Duncan's winning percentage, which is a great thing to lead off with him as the leader. Talked about how accolades heavily favored Duncan, aside from the DPOY. Talked about how he was more consistent, longer in terms of accolades, things like that. Talked about some opinions being thrown out that Tim is the GOAT power forward by acclamation, which is fair. Rowe countered with, he talks about Hakeem's peak was better over a 10-year period. I'd like to have seen a little bit more. He did mention about how his number, he does trump Duncan as far as the peak goes in percentage, more steals and blocks per game, things like that. He did throw in, he has more, the blocks and rebounding titles, which I thought was good. And he also discussed slightly about how, kind of to offset CW's point about the Spurs having the winning percentage, where Hakeem didn't necessarily have the team makeup consistently that Duncan did. So I did give that round to Rowe just because I felt like he did come up with a little bit of a counter. He did give me some numbers and some context to that, basically, where if you're going to start off why your player is greater, then I want to see things like that. I want to see how do they compare head-to-head as far as numbers go, what was their team makeup like, how did their peak look like, and I don't want to just hear, hey, he was better with no information or anything like that. So I was looking forward to that, to the round 2. CW came out, I thought, with an incredible round 2. You talked about Duncan beats Hakeem in total win shares, really leaned heavily into the analytics. Shows that he had much more team impact, especially one of my favorite stats, defensive win shares per season. And I think that he really illustrated how Duncan had a far better impact on his team analytically, winning percentage, things like that. He talked about even if you adjusted it per error, per 100, Duncan would still be slightly better than Hakeem as far as just a overall standpoint as far as those analytics go too. Rowe came in and was talking about how the error argument is a little bit flawed, especially he was claiming that there were far better players in especially at their position, I should say, than Duncan was facing in compared to Hakeem. Talked about how Duncan was off, got drafted to a better team. Hakeem was great in his team as well. They playoffs in blocks per game overall, which I thought was a great point. But I think that CW takes this around just because he gave me more tangible things. I'd like to have seen Rowe go into a little bit more of an explanation about, okay, great, error argument's flawed. Tell me more about how these players are so much better than what Duncan faced. Give me numbers, give me context, give me their accolades and achievements, not just names. Again, I happen to agree with you, but I'm going to need more than that. I can't just say, oh, great, he said David Robinson and Patrick Ewing. What does that mean to me if I don't know anything about those players? If I'm just a casual watching this. But I think CW gave me much more tangible things as far as that round goes, especially when it compared to his impact on the team, which I think is the most important thing when you're actually judging players. Strip everything away, accolades, achievements. What do they mean to their team? Okay, both these players meant a whole lot of their team, maybe the most in NBA history, honestly, both of them. But I think CW illustrated a little bit more, so I give the round to him. Round 3, I thought was CW's best round. He said the Spurs were top 5 in defensive rating 10 times through Duncan's career, and they were only fell out 3 times, which is a fantastic stat. And I debated Tim Duncan the other day, and that was a stat I used. T. Robinson was only there a short time, which was fair. And he really kind of pointed out how Duncan did have a changing roster all through his career, which was pretty extensive, many years as compared to a lot of the other players, right, that we talk about as GOAT status. And really, they didn't fall off of that defensive pedestal. He was obviously, he gave me examples of how he was the rock of that defense, right? He did also, which I was waiting for him to do, he kind of countered Rowe's take that there weren't many great players that Tim Duncan would against, especially head-to-head. He named a lot of those, right? And also how he was actually giving those guys numbers. Talked about, the Dirks, the Yao Mings, Shaq, things like that. And mentioned how Shaq was, he did mention how Shaq had a better record against Hakeem. Didn't really care about that, but he did mention that Duncan faced a prime MVP Shaq and was still an All-Star and All-Star All-NBA selection year 18, which is impressive, speaks of consistency, really. And also never missed the playoffs. And also, I love the point where he won 4 rings without an All-NBA teammate, or current All-NBA teammate, rather, which I thought was, that's one thing I hadn't even thought of, because I think I went to bat for Duncan 100 times. Ro came out and talked about, how Duncan really had that benefit of just having a more consistent, stable organization really around him, just for the one coach, never really played for another team, etc. Talked about Hakeem's stats. This is where I would like to have seen Ro kind of counter CW with, he started to lean into it with some of the numbers, but he's talking about his random playoff series. I want to talk about how they compare, like especially scoring, how he was, did more with less than Duncan. Tell me about the impact defensively and offensively that he had on the Rockets, which was significant. Like, didn't mention any of the numbers there. Their defensive rating, nothing. He did mention Ralph Sampson, and also how Hakeem was performing great against some of these all-time teams early in his career, which is great, but that doesn't tell me anything about what he did against Duncan, And I mean, and then you used a quote from a player. I don't care what other players say. I mean, obviously, if I'm taking the word for it, sure. But if I'm just judging, I'm not going to believe, oh yeah, you said this, so I'm going to use that as my termination. I want to see not just the numbers, but give me the context, give me the impact, give me that counter argument, because CW was using just things that happened, not opinions or from other players. He talked about this. Now, whether or not I agree that Hakeem Olajuwon is a spot ahead of Duncan, which I do, I feel like CW just made the far better argument. So I give the round to him.
All right, then raise it. Then hey, listen, man. But I really, what the problem is, and again, I sit there because the numbers start to kill. You look at the numbers, right, and you try to put context around the numbers. And congratulations, CW, because
appreciate it.
obviously, a lot of people will again. I think this is what I'm saying. A lot of people, I think, because of the 5-2, they put Duncan way ahead of Hakeem, and I believe that Hakeem definitely is on that level. Again, you got guys that have him in the top 10, don't have him in the top 10. I think, like, at the end of the day, man, Hakeem, like I said, I've used the playoff numbers. That's the ones I wanted to do because, again, you're not going to have much head-to-head. Like, at the end of the day, Duncan started his career in 97. 97. Hakeem's career fell off the map. And it's really, obviously Duncan has the advantage in head-to-heads. Even Shaq, being that, Hakeem was an older Asian player. Now, I went to those playoff numbers. And again, you say they were random, but again, I mean, like he got better as the playoffs went along, and I thought I proved that with the the conference finals and in the finals numbers. But what can we do?
That's one thing also that you didn't tell me, and I was waiting for that too. When I debated Hakeem, I point out Hakeem is the only player in history, well, I should say top 10 player, whose playoff numbers across the board, all 6 categories, get better. He's the only one that has ever done that.
Yeah, you could have really killed that because his advanced metrics are way better than Duncan's. Really.
Yeah, and again, I know, and again, I said I try not to base number. I'm going to stick to my guns on that. I try not to base arguments on numbers, and I know it's hard because you're trying to prove your point and you want to base it on numbers. I thought I made a good point using Ellie, and because these are famously two of the big players that made big shot. Big Shot Bob and Mario Ellie famously made shots around these guys to help them win their championship. So I would have thought that they're guys that played with both guys, they practice in and out. Again, you're talking about in a situation of better, but you're also talking about like, okay, well, here you go. Phil said, "Hey, I'm not giving you no help, Robert Horry, but goddamn, Robert Ory saw everybody give help on Hakeem, no matter who was around him, and that's why Robert Ory was able to develop his game the way he did. But look, hey, I knew who was judging. I knew I needed to come up, but it just, I think it throws me off my personal style. So I thought, okay, let me get in some of this in here, and I know I probably, as we do, we leave points on the board by not mentioning certain things, but I just didn't want to. I didn't want to. Numbers is not my style. I like to make, as I say, I like to make points and then find numbers to support it. So I really thought going hey, let me look at these playoff series. Let me tell you who he played against, and let me show you what he did. But as we know, look, consistency, the longevity factor. We know again, Duncan got the slight edge because you're right. Duncan had to reinvent himself. Duncan was his minutes went down to about 28, 30, so he could last these seasons. Then again, you got a championship in 99, you got a championship in 14. So that'll speak for itself. I will tell you, I gain a lot more respect for Duncan than I do. I am now comfortably have him in my top 13.
Oh, it's top 13.
Jesus Christ.
Oh man,
he's still in my top 13.
Man, he got to be in the top 10.
Nah, it's too crowded, man.
I have him at 5, man. How do you not have him at 5? Ridiculous.
Again, because I put the two old heads definitely. Now that's the thing. If I ever had a Wilt Chamberlain, I'm taking the gloves off because there's no way that I believe that anybody should have Tim Duncan ahead of Wilt Chamberlain. That's just me personally. So, but for I mean, come on, man. Come on. Wilt Chamberlain is, bruh. Wilt Chamberlain was so good. It was just that. I mean, come on, man. You put these two on the same court.
Wilt Chamberlain, I mean, yeah, he was great, but it's just like, it's hard. Like I said, I don't rank them personally because they would be the GOATs, right? We all know that. Yeah. Like him and Bill.
Because the numbers are so, and that's what it is. The numbers are so eye-popping, and then you're like, this is just video game shit. But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't a video game. They did that on the basketball court in Chuck Taylor's and canvas speakers. You know what I'm saying?
You see Lowe's video about Hakeem's? I'm not Hakeem, but Wilt's 100.
I did a video about Wilt's 100.
Yeah, Lowe, he did a video on the broadcast of Wilt's 100.
Oh, okay.
Where they were saying how he was showing how Wilt would basically block his teammate's shot in the midair and just put it in the basket. So yeah, and he had actual footage showing that he would just jump up and grab the ball out the air when they shot it. And
that's crazy. I mean, because Wilt did have 3 teammates score 16 points. Now, all right, you think, okay, 16, but I think Paul Arizin, a couple other guys had 16 points. But again, you scored 100 and have teammates who scored in double digits, 3 of them at least. I mean, that's, I don't know. That again, they say that there's no film, no actual footage of the Hershey the game.
It wasn't that game, but he was.
Oh, it wasn't a 100-point game. Okay.
No, it was just an example of how he would just, and it was he legit did it. He would just jump up, grab it with one hand, and just dunk it or bring it down and just lay it up. Wow.
So in other words, they were putting up a shot, and he would get because you can't go to your own guy, but since he gets it. He puts it back. I mean, look.
Yeah, because he could jump that high where he was not even right by the basket, but he could just grab it out the air.
Yeah, he was a walking cheat code, and that's the thing. It's just like, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Again, it's why it's hard to do a GOAT. That's why it's hard to do a GOAT list, man. And you really have to. You really have to look because, again, at the end of the day, it wasn't like he was playing against inferior guys. Again, when you got Walt Bellamy, you got to play him 8 times. You got to play Bill Russell 8 times a season. Think about that. You were talking about random regular season numbers at the end of Hakeem's prime, right? And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Hakeem was 4-0 against Shaq in the playoffs, and I was going. I was
He
like,
lost,
okay,
he lost
yeah,
in 98, I think. Or
yeah, 98. Again, he fell off the map kind of in 98,
yeah. After
99.
97, he was pretty much done.
Yeah, and again, I brought up the stealing money part, which it's fun. That's a quote that some of the old players would say, like, "Hey, I played my prime. Now I'm gonna go be a role player and still get paid like a star." And a lot of players went through that part of their careers, and now it's a different world where trading and
Hakeem
everything
Hakeem Olajuwon's the only center to be top 5 at steals and blocks per game.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
He's top 10. He's number 10 in steals all time.
Who has the all-time total blocks number? Is it Artis Gilmore?
I
thought it was.
Oh, in the regular season, isn't it? I thought it was.
I know. We all know Stockton is the steals leader. All-time leading blocks. It might be Hakeem. You must have missed when I said he has the all-time leading blocks per game.
No, that's in the playoffs. Yeah, which was a good point. I actually pointed it out.
Yeah. Okay.
He got the most blocks.
Who?
Kareem. Yeah, Kareem has it by not Kareem, but Hakeem has it by a pretty good margin.
Wow. Yeah, and I didn't even know that. Actually, it is kind of not fair because you got 4 years of Kareem's career where they didn't keep it yet. He has it by I left points on the board. 500 and
Let's see if I can pull this up real fast.
It's Hakeem, Mutombo, Jabbar, Gilmore, Eaton, and Duncan is 6. So Duncan respectively got to 3,000, and then Robinson and Ewing. And that's a look. Ewing got Ewing to have more blocks than Shaquille and Tree Rollins. That's a great number.
Check this out, bro. Here's all the meat left on the bone, bro. This is me debating the other day for Hakeem to be a top 10 because somebody was saying he wasn't. I mean, so he's first in blocks. We're gonna see he's third all time despite playing. He's first all time blocks in the regular season, right? He's third all time in the postseason despite playing just 45 postseason games. He's the only top 5 player in that category that didn't play at least 200 games. He's the only player other than Michael Jordan to be top 5 at their position in both blocks and steals per game. Hakeem is 10th all time in total steals. There is another center that comes in the top 50 in that category. He's one of 3 players to register a 200 steals, 100 block season. Only the 2 players ever being Mike and Scotty once. He's only, 3 players to have at least 1 MVP, Finals MVP, and a DPOY. Others are Mike and Giannis. He's 4th all-time defensive win shares. For some context, he trails Kareem, who's number 3, by just 0.02, despite playing over 300 fewer games.
Amazing. So he's the best, and that's the thing. He's the best recorded defender. See, the best stat recorded defender of all time, in my opinion. And then you have Russell, who's arguably the best defender of all time, but stats weren't recorded to support it. So I mean, again, and it's funny. I should have looked those numbers up. I've been trolling in your former group, right? In the group they used to have you as moderator.
Good.
And I've been sitting there numbers. I love my numbers, but I've been looking for so many numbers to especially those Olympic numbers and all of that, But it's funny because I was getting at them about LeBron having the bronze in not in 04. We all know that Larry Brown didn't play them, but 06 when they had the bronze and they lost to Greece with a total of zero NBA players. Like Giannis was 11 years old. Giannis probably could have played for Greece at 11 years old. I mean, I'm just, I'm trolling, but it's again, I want that out there because one of the misnomers about the '92 Dream Team, because debate's over, but One of the misnomers about the '92 Dream Team is they played against zero NBA talent, which is bullshit. Number one, there were 9 players who had already played in the NBA that were in the Olympic competition. Here's the problem with using that point, though. When you got South Sudan, you have Carlick Jones, you got JT Thor, you got Wade. I mean, you got basically 10-day contract guys, G leaguers, who have technically, they've technically played in the NBA before, but they're counted. But meanwhile, Arvydas Sabonis is not counted for Lithuania. Now we all know Arvydas Sabonis, how good he was. A lot of people didn't see him in his prime. He was amazing. He was amazing.
Bro,
go ahead.
I'm not through roasting you. Hold on.
Oh, you. Oh.
You didn't tell me. You didn't tell me that Hakeem had in 1995 they faced the opponents that had a combined SRS of 28.45 together, the most of all time. And hold on, and 450 plus win opponents while not having home court in any of those series. If you would have said that, you would have won the debate.
Travis, I keep it real. I don't know what SRS means. These advanced stats, I kick down the curve, bro. What? Okay, explain to me SRS real quick, because I want to get back to.
It's basically the combined winning percentage and margin of victory that your opponents had over their competition during the regular season.
Got you. Okay.
Well, so again, tells me who had the toughest, not necessarily toughest, but like you're running the gauntlet and you don't have home court advantage in any series and you still win the championship with no All-Star.
Yeah, I mean, look, and again, that was great. I mean, pretty much because Chip explained itself, right? He beat multiple 60-win teams or multiple
25 was a great
teams. And again, that was great. He did it, and mind you, he did it with a major trade. Losing Otis Thorpe, but again, I remember Robert Ory stepped up and actually played his best. Yeah. Best of his career. But again, when it comes down to that Olympic argument, pretty much I would say 32 players that played in the Olympics in 1992 wound up getting into the NBA at some point in their career. Again, y'all gotta remember when you talk about Olympic, basically before 1990, before David Stern made the agreement, David Stern had to allow NBA players to play in the Olympics. So that was not only for American players, that was also for foreign players. So that means a lot of guys didn't come from Europe. David Stern had to sell the owners, hey, the globalization of having a dream team in Barcelona will pay off dividends. So let's allow for our players to play in the Olympics. That now means the foreign players now decided to come once their contracts were over, like Sabonis had to wait for his contract to run out in 95 before he can make his debut. So if you're going to sit there, if you guys in the LeBron, and I see Mars up here, if your guys going to make the argument that the dream team of 92 played against zero NBA competition, that's bullshit. Because again, Australia, guys eventually came over afterwards because not only that, the money made it worth it to come play 82 games. You got to remember, if Sabonis could get $1 million to play 30-something games in a Euro League, and then he could play in another league because the schedule was lighter, why is he going to get $1 million to play 82 games in the NBA? Once the money started going up with the CBA, and guys could make up to $10 million a year, that's when they felt the European players felt. But the European players were good enough to play in the NBA. So let's not get that twisted. Because if you're counting guys like Carlick Jones, and again, no respect for the South Sudanese team because they beat the Team USA in a exhibition. You know what I'm saying? So, and they played them strong in a medal round. But they do compare, Bar. That's the thing. They do compare. So, it is what it is. All I got to do is watch it. I did watch it, bro. I watched it live. Andrew Gaze, these guys, bro. Not only did I watch it, I played with these guys on the Sega Genesis game, bro. These guys Gary was it Gary Neal? He played for Australia. He was their point guard. He was Andrew
Gary Neal
Gage.
played with the Spurs.
Yeah, he was an Australian.
Okay, yeah.
He was an Australian, and he played in '92. So he didn't play prior to '92. He played after '92. Again, guys could not if you were on an NBA contract, you could not represent your country. That's why Oscar Schmidt never came to the NBA. He was drafted. A lot of these guys were drafted, but it was like they're not gonna forego being able to represent their country to come play in the NBA. So really, it was, and mind you, you're getting no guaranteed on a contract because they were third round, second round picks like that. That's when, again, 92 made it to the point. If you don't have 92, you don't have Dirk Nowitzki, guys. Detlef Schrempf is one of those guys who said, I'll come into the league anyway. He was one of the few guys that, and obviously in 92, he was able to now represent his country for Germany. You know what I'm saying? But, Gerard Mustaf, right? Guys like that, but that's what I'm saying. You keep Lithuania. Somebody said that that South Sudan was a better team than Croatia and Lithuania. You telling me a team with Tony Kukoc, Dino Raja, and it was another center that played in the NBA too. And Drazen Petrovic was better, wasn't as good as South Sudan because they had Carlick Jones who played in Korea 12 games.
Dude, South Sudan was the best team ever assembled.
Say again.
South Sudan could beat the 2008 Redeem team.
Hey, the best team that don't have a home gym that has to go to another country to do an indoor practice. The best team ever assembled. I mean, look, and I mean, Luol Deng, props to you, brother. Luol Deng is taking his NBA earnings and running the whole South Sudanese NBA program, basketball, Olympic program, right, or national team program. This team beat LeBron and these guys in a goddamn exhibition. But y'all want to talk about, hold on, they want to talk about Dream Team losing to college guys. When four of those college guys, Jason Kidd, Chris Webber, Ronnie Rogers is one of them. He's not in the Hall of Fame, but Grant Hill, Jalen Rose, these guys, come on, bro. This is the college kids that they lost to. They didn't lose to a team. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make fun because the situation in South Sudan is crazy. And shout out to Luol Deng for running that. He made a lot of money in the NBA, but he's running the whole program.
Dude, if that team had prime Larry Bird, I would pick them to beat 2008 team. As it was, though, probably take
man. Listen, I guess talk Olympic history on the next. Again, I gotta. Yes, they did. They beat them in the exhibition, not the real tournament, but they beat them in an exhibition. Hold on.
How did the Olympics come up?
Yeah, they came back at the end. They hit that last second.
Was it okay? All right, you're right. But guess what? Okay, come on. That's damn sure the equivalent of losing to a scrimmage to Grant Hill and Jason Kidd. Come on now.
I mean, it was they should never have been that close in the first place.
And yeah, even in that, I remember Luol Deng is like, bro, I'm paying for this goddamn. I'm paying for this out of my pocket.
Wait, how did the Olympics come up?
Well, because I was telling you how I was trolling these guys in Go Jays Kingdom group. But Mark says he knows.
Oh, were they glossing the LeBron MVP?
Yeah. Or you mean the hypothetical MVP? Like there's no. Yeah. I really need to understand how you imagining LeBron with an MVP with Luka on the team. Obviously, Luka is the MVP and the centerpiece.
Oh, obviously, I don't think he's going to win the MVP.
But. Yeah, of course, I know you don't. Yeah. So LeBron James hit the game-winning layup. Oh my God, what scripted bullshit? They needed a game-winning layup to win by 1 point. You're right. So South Sudan, again, a team with no indoor gym. They actually had a 58. They actually had a 58-44 lead at halftime, and then home cooking from the refs and Carlick Jones. They made the team in USA made Carlick Jones look like Isaiah Thomas. Come on now.
I'm about to draft Carlick Jones for fantasy.
Wayne Gabriel. God, this guy was like the 12th man on the Lakers team that didn't make the playoff. JT Thor. He hit a three. The Hornets wing hits a 3-pointer to give South Sudan a 199 lead with 20 seconds remaining, and of course, LeBron James with the game-winning layup.
Give me prime Grant Hill over Magic Johnson.
I mean, look, Grant Hill was a bad motherfucker, bro. Bad. You talk about. See, you know, he thought he was trolling me, but that's my second favorite player of all time.
What?
You didn't know that?
I know that.
Yeah, I'm a Duke fan, bro. Now, see, I should have known that.
Man, I know you a Duke fan, but
Yo, bro, when he took it to Larry Johnson in '91, when he caught that bad alley, bro, that was the worst alley oop ever thrown. And Grant Hill got up so high that he was able to stop that shit from going out of bounds and dunking it.
you don't say Bobby
You want to talk
Hurley
about LeBron before LeBron?
JJ Redick, I'm good. As long as you don't say Bobby Hurley.
Bobby Hurley. Bobby Hurley was that. Yeah, I remember, bro. I remember when Jason Kidd fucking killed Bobby Hurley.
White chocolate before white chocolate.
Yeah, man.
I was glad to see it too.
Shout out, guys, man. All right, man. So, yeah, let me hop off. This is a good one. You know, got some traffic for the stream. Thanks, man. Thanks for the debate. You know, listen, I know you probably deserved to win. You were more organized than me, but Team Olajuwon's still better than that.
We'll see. T Perfect, you anything you wanna
Oh yeah, y'all got y'all debate tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Just thought me and you are gonna chop it up tomorrow at lights out at 9. Oh yeah, we know the time, 9 Eastern time. So we'll see everyone there.
All right,
guys.
Have a good one.
Thank you all. All right.